On the morning of February 28, 2026, a joint U.S.-Israel strike killed Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei inside his own compound in Tehran. It was one of the most consequential assassinations in modern history. But what made it possible wasn't just firepower. It was surveillance. Years and years of quiet, invisible surveillance. The kind that turns a city against itself. So how exactly did Israel pull this off? Well, it starts with something you walk past every day without thinking twice. A traffic camera. However, the infiltration of the Iranian traffic camera network was only part of a much larger and multi-layered digital surveillance operation codenamed Operation Roaring Lion. For years, Israeli intelligence had been quietly inside Tehran's traffic camera network. Nearly every camera in the city had been compromised, with footage encrypted and transmitted to servers in Tel Aviv and southern Israel. With the help of Iranian surveillance systems, Israel didn't need to fly drones over Tehran. They had Iran's own infrastructure surveilling for them. One particular camera angle turned out to be especially valuable. It had a clear view of where Khamenei's bodyguards parked their personal vehicles near a compound on Pasteur Street, a highly secure, strategically significant passageway in central Tehran, renowned for housing the country's most critical government institutions. That one angle alone gave intelligence officers something priceless: routine. Where guards parked told them when shifts changed, which routes they used to get there, and which officials each guard was assigned to protect. In the intelligence circle, this is called a pattern of life, and building one is everything. But cameras were only the beginning. Israeli intelligence didn't stop at watching. They went deeper into Iran's mobile phone infrastructure. Around a dozen cell towers near the Pasteur Street compound were quietly disrupted by Israeli operators, making phones appear busy when called. The idea was straightforward. If someone was trying to warn a security detail about something going wrong, the call wouldn't go through. The guards would be unreachable at exactly the moment they needed to be reached. It was a kill switch for communications built into the city's own network. All this raw data, the camera feeds, the signals intelligence, the intercepted communications, the satellite imagery, the human sources recruited by Mossad, was being fed into something that one Israeli source described as an AI-powered production machine. The sheer volume of data required powerful computers to sort through and analyze, pulling out what Israeli intelligence actually wanted: a precise location. Not a neighborhood, not a block, a 14-digit grid coordinate. A team of technologists, data analysts, and engineers worked to validate the output and fine-tune the process. An Israeli intelligence official put it bluntly. Long before the strike, he said, they knew Tehran like they knew Jerusalem. That's not bragging. That's a statement about the depth of penetration that had been running for years. Israeli Signals Intelligence Unit 8200 was at the center of it. But they also used something called social network analysis, a mathematical method that sifts through billions of data points to identify relationships, decision-making centers, and new targets. Feed it enough information and it starts drawing connections that no individual analyst could ever see. And this wasn't the first time the system had been used. At the start of a 12-day conflict between Israel and Iran in June of the previous year, the very same intelligence machine opened the campaign by deleting Iran's top military commander, the head of the IRGC, and close aide to Khamenei, all in a single strike. The machine had already proven itself. February was just the next time it was switched on. On the morning of the strike, Israeli intelligence used signal intelligence, including the hack cameras and penetrated phone networks, to confirm that Khamenei and his senior officials were physically present inside the compound. The Americans had an additional human source providing the same confirmation. Two independent lines of intelligence pointing to the same target at the same moment. On Friday afternoon at 3:38 p.m. Eastern Time, President Trump gave the order. The message read, "Operation Epic Fury is approved. No aborts. Good luck." Hours later, smoke was rising over Tehran. Early Sunday morning, Iran's state broadcaster made the announcement. The supreme leader of Iran had reached martyrdom. A city's own cameras, a city's own cell towers, turned quietly and patiently into the architecture of a kill. The thing about a perfect trap is that the target never knows they're in one. Khamenei walked past those cameras every day. His guards parked under them. His protection detail made calls on towers Israel had already owned. For years, the infrastructure of his own capital was watching him. He just didn't know who was on the other end.